Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette Chock Chapple's hometown date was a first in Bachelor history. The Golden Bachelorette star, Joan Vassos, went on 4 dates during her hometown's episode. During her visits to Guy Gansard, Pascal Ep, Jordan Heller, and Chock Chapple's homes, she took in new sights and met many family members. But her date with Chock Chapple made Bachelor Nation history as a first for hometowns. Joan Vassos gets confirmation. On Wednesday, Joan Vassos went to all 4 of her final suitors' homes. She met many of their friends and family members. But one of the most important factors for Joan at this stage was to have confirmation that the men who moved forward could see a future with her. While she knew that Gansard and Chock Chapple's hearts were ready to accept her as a wife, she was unsure about Jordan Heller and Pascal Ep. Although Chock was hesitant to tell her he loved her, he chose to give her the reassurance she was craving. Admittedly, he let his feelings out, saying, "I'm falling in love with you." He knew he was risking a lot to wear his heart on his sleeve. She said. Chock didn't hold back. He's all in. However, Chock's date made Bachelor Nation's history by taking Joan on a first for any of their series. Chock Chapple's hometown date was a first in Bachelor history. During the episode, the Golden Bachelorette showed Joan Vassos joining Chock Chapple in Wichita, KS. Undeniably, Chock is going through a difficult time in his life. While the filming was full of fun and laughs, unfortunately, there were many tears as well. Joan shared with her suitors she wasn't sure she was ready to move on. But suitors like Chock were open and honest about their struggles with grief and helped her understand the journey was worth opening her heart. Sadly, Chock shared about losing his fiancée, Kathy, to brain cancer. Then, during the filming, Chock's mother, Dr. Jill Cobb, also lost her battle with stage 4 cancer. Undoubtedly, it was extremely hard for him because he had talked about how special he was and how much he wanted Joan to meet her. Although it was heartbreaking for him to leave, he chose to return knowing there was a great connection with Joan. When she arrived in Wichita, Chock let her know they would be attending a memorial service for his mother. This was an unusual choice and something that has never happened in Bachelor Nation's history. But Chock wants to share the event with Joan because it is something very important to him. Likewise, it gave her a chance to know more about that piece of his heart. Chock Chapple's date was important for him to share. Undeniably nerve-wracking, Joan Vassos attended a friend and family-filled event that was very close to Chock Chapple's heart. Unmistakably, Chock was so proud of his mother and had planned for Joan to meet her. However, with her untimely passing, that wasn't an option. But sharing the joy and sorrow of the memorial service gave Joan a better understanding of the wonderful woman that Chock looked up to. Likewise, it was a deep expression of acceptance of Joan to invite her to attend when the family was vulnerable and mourning. Among the outpouring of love were Chock's 2 kids, his father, and the father of his late fiancée, Kathy. During the memorial, the family planted a tree in her honor, and they spoke touching words about her legacy. Although not the conventional date, Chock wanted Joan to be beside him even in the dark hours. This experience let Joan know how much she was valued by Chock and accepted by his family. Admittedly, he began to cry during the end of the service and embraced Joan, who he says is his rock during the tragic time. Since Joan lived her worst nightmare watching Joan Vassos die, this is a reminder of strength in a partner during difficult times. Chock Chapple included Joan for a life-defining moment. Unmistakably, Chock Chapple's date wasn't the traditional romantic date followed by meeting family. Instead, she was bombarded with seeing all of the most important people in Chock's life at once. Furthermore, Joan mentions how overwhelming it was to meet so many people at the same time. Likewise, it was an emotionally charged time for the family. Some fans think it was a creepy date or even a snooze fest, but Chock's heart seems to be in the right place. For people who have survived grief, allowing someone to be present in those unpleasant moments is an act of trust. Joan understood it was a gift to be included with him and his family for such a life-defining moment. When Joan was wondering which of her suitors was ready to take the next steps, she had no question that Chock was being vulnerable with her. Likewise, Chock's family sees Joan bring out a different side of him. Bachelor Nation has seen it all, or so we thought. From helicopter entrances to hot air balloon kisses, sobbing exits to scandalous fantasy suites, the Golden Bachelorette promised to raise the stakes with Joan Vassos, leading the charge for love in the golden years. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared fans, or even producers, for what happened when Chock Chapple's hometown date aired. Let's set the stage. Chock Chapple, the charming silver fox with a name straight out of a Hemingway novel and a heart full of poetic grace, had slowly but surely won over Joan's attention throughout the season. His quiet confidence, heartfelt letters, and fondness for guitar strumming under twilight skies made him the dark horse turned fan favorite. But when Joan picked Chock for one of her coveted 4 hometown visits, nobody expected that it would turn into one of the most talked about episodes in franchise history. First, there was the location. Instead of your traditional family BBQ in the backyard or nervous brunch with adult children, Chock invited Joan to a small, off-the-grid artist commune nestled in the rolling hills of Asheville, North Carolina. But this wasn't just any artist commune, it was his. He built it. Dubbed the Golden Grove, the community was made up of retirees who had opted for a life less ordinary: potters, painters, poets, and even a beekeeper named Dusty, who may or may not have been a former Broadway star. As Joan stepped out of the production van in her cream cardigan and pearl earrings, she was met not with roses or polite hugs, but with a fully immersive welcome ceremony, featuring wind chimes, interpretive dance, and Chock himself in linen pants, bare feet, and holding what appeared to be a homemade didgeridoo. "I wanted to bring you to a place that reflects me," he said with a twinkle in his eye. "Not just my past, but my present, my purpose, my soul." Joan, bless her open-minded heart, did what few bachelorettes would do. She leaned in. She painted with Chock's friends. She meditated in the woods. She ate honey straight from the comb. And yes, she danced barefoot in the meadow under a sky of floating paper lanterns. As the camera panned out, capturing Joan laughing with wild abandon beside Chock, fans at home tweeted in real time, "Is this The Bachelor or a live-action Hallmark movie?" But the real headline moment came later in the evening, during the traditional Meet the Family portion. Instead of introducing Joan to his children or siblings, Chock had something else in mind. He introduced her to his ex-wife. Yes, you read that correctly. In what producers have since called a risky move that turned into magic, Chock invited Joan to sit down with his ex-wife, Miriam, a fellow resident of the artist commune and a glowing woman in her late 60s with salt and pepper curdles and a peaceful smile. "I thought it was important that you meet her," Chock explained. "She was a huge part of my life, and we've remained incredibly close. She's still my best friend in many ways. If Bachelor Nation has taught us anything, it's that exes are usually mentioned with side eyes and vague references. But here, Miriam offered Joan chamomile tea and a candid conversation that left viewers stunned. "I've never seen Chock this excited about someone in years," Miriam said warmly. "He's not a perfect man. He's complicated. But he leads with his heart. And Joan, he's been softer since meeting you. You've awakened something in him." The conversation wasn't awkward. It was revolutionary. Here was a man comfortable enough in his history to share it, and a woman strong enough to embrace it. Joan later confessed to the camera, teary-eyed, "I thought I'd seen everything love had to offer. But today, I saw a love that grows after the romance ends. And that gives me hope." It wasn't long before fans flooded social media with praise. The moment was hailed as the most emotionally mature scene in Bachelor history. Therapists on TikTok dissected it for weeks. Twitter, well, X, exploded with hashtags like hashtag Golden Grove Goals and hashtag X's and Excellence. But it wasn't just about shock value or unconventional structure. The episode struck a chord because it redefined what romance could look like later in life, It showed that love doesn't have to start in fireworks and end in silence. Sometimes it transforms. Sometimes it circles back around in unexpected, beautiful ways. At the rose ceremony that followed, Joan took a deep breath before handing out the final rose. The audience was holding their breath. Would she keep the familiar safety of another contestant or follow the risky magic of Chock's world? "Chock," she said softly, rose in hand. "I never thought I'd feel this alive again. Thank you for reminding me that love, at any age, should be bold." Chock smiled, tears glistening in his eyes. "Then let's keep dancing in the meadows, Joan."